It's Wednesday, July 15th. I'm Lucie Steiner.
And I'm Sam Seder. Which of these stories will you be talking about today?
The White House may be ready to reauthorize enhanced unemployment benefits during the pandemic. It may be a reprieve, but it's a long way from economic justice. Meanwhile, Joe Biden launches an ambitious new climate plan. Is this the influence of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party? And lastly, another policy walkback from Donald Trump's White House. International students may not get deported during the pandemic after all.
You are listening to Majority FM's AM Quickie, and these are the stories you need to know.
More than 30 million Americans are claiming unemployment benefits. Those benefits are the only thing preventing them from going hungry or homeless. The benefits effectively filled a $70 billion hole in the economy created by the pandemic, the lockdowns, and the financial sector panic. And they're scheduled to run out in 2 weeks, along with the special federal program that permits a $600 per week increase to those benefits on account of the coronavirus pandemic. Republicans from Donald Trump on down have complained about those benefits, saying they discourage people from returning to work, as though work itself were in a discouragement from returning to work. Let's be real. But now, according to the Washington Post, there are signs that the White House may be willing to extend the benefit. Some Republicans favor a compromise that would involve cutting the $600 weekly benefit to somewhere between $200 and $400. Then they'd send another round of $1,200 stimulus checks, presumably signed by Trump, as with the last batch. But congressional Republicans haven't reached an agreement among themselves what their position should be during the worst economic crisis in generations. They don't have a lot of time to figure it out either. The enhanced unemployment benefit expires in 49 states on July 25th and in New York State on July 26th. And the Senate session resumes next Monday, July 20th. Clock's a ticking. If the benefits don't come through, then take our advice. Invest in pitchforks and torches. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders put out a video statement yesterday calling on progressives to think and act strategically in the months ahead. Sanders, who remains on the ballot in most states, said he understood that many of his supporters have differences with the Democratic Party's presumptive presidential nominee, Joe Biden. However, Sanders said his supporters who went on to advise Biden's team after Sanders suspended his campaign did succeed in pushing Biden to adopt better policies. As if to supply the evidence, Biden yesterday announced a $2 trillion climate plan that went far beyond what he had previously proposed on energy or the environment. The plan calls for substantial spending on upgrading buildings, vehicles, and electrical plants over 4 years. Additionally, the Biden climate proposal calls for the U.S. to be using 100% renewable energy within 15 years. Biden said, quote, "When Donald Trump thinks about climate change, the only word he can muster is hoax. When I think about climate change, the word I think of is jobs," unquote. Also among those praising Biden's proposal was Washington State Governor Jay Inslee, who said it was not the status quo plan. According to the New York Times, the plan also calls for establishing an Office of Environmental and Climate Justice at the Justice Department to address the country's long record of dumping pollution on and around communities of color.
Hey, Majority.fm's AM Quickie is fueled by JustCoffee.coop. Just Coffee is a worker-owned coffee roaster based in Madison, Wisconsin that has sponsored the Majority Report for nearly a decade. Check out their collection of fair trade roasts, including our own Majority Report blend. And regardless of what you order, receive 10% off of your order when you use the code MAJORITY at checkout. All shipping, of course, is free. That's coupon code MAJORITY at justcoffee.coop.
In Australia, international students are reportedly turning to food banks and getting by on one meal per day, The Guardian reported. As temporary visa holders, they are not covered by government benefit programs during the pandemic. But there was good news for thousands of international students in the U.S. yesterday. The Trump administration is backing away from a policy announced last week that would have forced foreign students to leave the country if their universities moved classes online in the fall. 2 days after the policy was announced, Harvard University and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology sued the government to stop the policy, and were soon joined by companies that rely on a pipeline of educated workers. A separate lawsuit, including 17 states and hundreds of universities, was also filed. The Trump policy was so ill-considered that the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement agreed to rescind it 5 minutes into the first court hearing on Harvard and MIT's lawsuit. That's according to The Verge, which also reported that ICE will revert to the policy for this past spring semester. That is, students on temporary visas whose classes have moved online will be allowed to remain in the U.S.
Now for some quicker quickies.
Quicker Quickie.
The 87-year-old liberal U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg was admitted to the hospital yesterday, according to the Associated Press. Apparently, she had an unspecified infection. A statement from the court says Ginsburg is, quote, resting comfortably and will stay in the hospital for a few days to receive intravenous antibiotic treatment, unquote. Ghislaine Maxwell pleaded not guilty in federal court in Manhattan yesterday to charges of abetting serial sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. U.S. District Judge Allison Nathan also denied Maxwell's request for bail, agreeing with prosecutors that she might try to flee and go back into hiding. This week, the Mail on Sunday, a British tabloid, reported that Maxwell was being moved from cell to cell to avoid potential assassins. New research published in the journal Nature Communications blames car tires for microplastic pollution that is choking the world's oceans. More than 500,000 tons of particles smaller than 1/10 of a millimeter fall onto roads from car tires and brakes. Those particles then get blown around by the wind. Roughly half make their way into the oceans. And they also contaminate the food supply. Yum yum. An unnamed European rich person purchased a private island off the south coast of Ireland for $8.5 million and never once set foot in it. The wealthy buyer relied on online video to make their decision. That's according to The Guardian, which says the island comes with 7 houses, a pier, a tennis court, and a helipad. And I assume no guillotines.
Quicker. Quickie.
That's it for the Majority Report's AM Quickie today. Join us this afternoon for the Majority Report.